Welcome back, everyone. Well, this is session 9 of season 3 in our HTML-CSS course, and we are going to continue on the project of our season 3. So let's get back to what we have. So this is what we've designed so far, and we are going to continue making our project look like this thing here. So for the header area and the navbar area, we have almost done everything in this area, but this social link is something that remains. And also now that I look at it, I see that this one has some more extra padding maybe from the space around it. So we can come here, hit inspect on this. So the inspect, let's make this inspect tool a little bigger. So this is our header area, and inside our header area I have applied a padding from top and right 60 pixel, but from left and right nothing. So I'm going to increase this padding that I have applied to my header, the first thing that I'm going to do. So I'm going to find my header inside. So this would be my header. The padding that I have applied is, I am going to make that something like this one. So, and also when we are going to make our website responsive and use media queries, we will see how we can actually use media queries for responsive design. We want to come back and change these values, because these values that I'm using here, 80 pixel and 120 pixel, is something that is suitable for this screen only, for a laptop sized device. But for the mobile devices, we should never use a padding like this, because it's just too much for a mobile device. So this is something to have in mind. We will come back and make that look like that. But again, it seems that I need a little bit more padding, it seems. So make that 120 again. We will come back and use media queries for this, because this is it, this is good. And now it's time to fix these social links that we have here. See, here we have a div with a class of socials, and we had some bunch of social links inside this, right? And inside our CSS we can hit Control F and find these socials, yes. And for now, I just have applied a color inherit and a text decoration none to these links, but I need to make some changes to this one. First of all, I want to give it a padding, and the padding should be, for example, a padding of, let's say, 10 pixels to each one of these, and hit refresh. You can see there's actually a little space between these two now. And also I am going to assign a little of padding to the container of these elements as well, because here you can see these socials are inside a div. Each one of these social links are inside a div, and I am going to select this and apply a padding. Okay, from top and right a 10 pixel padding, but from left and right nothing. So this is how it looks. Maybe I want to increase that a little bit, make that 20, and let's see how 20 looks. This is how 20 looks. And for each item also as well, I want to make that 20 for each item as well. So this is, I think, now a little better, but I think we need to increase the font size a little bit. Well, let's see, even bigger than this person has used. So as you can see, for this, we can go inside our computed section. For each one of these, the font size is on 18 pixels, okay? But I am going to increase the font size for this one a little and set that on 20 pixels, although a UI UX designer might see this and say that this is ridiculous, maybe, I don't know. But I like to use 20 pixels. I think it's better. And for the hover effect of this one, so when the user hovers these social links, so I can copy the selector exactly and just use a hover for them, and say the first thing that you need to do is to set a background color and set that background color to white. But we have so many different whites. Do you know what I mean? We have absolute white, which the code for that is $FFF, and we have so many things. So I am going to set a force state for this one. Set the force state on hover. See, this is when it goes hover. But when I set the force state on hover, we do not see the background color of white for that one. So maybe this is it. So let's force the state of this one to hover. So this one again sounds a little off to me. So why? When we hover it, you can see there's a background color of white exactly. But when I say come here and force the state, you can see that background color is gone. I don't know why. It's a string. Let's force the state this one as hover as well. So the hover effect was applied for the eye, it seems. Okay, for me it doesn't kind of seems off because it's better to have that for the li, the hover effect thing there, or the a tag at least. So now that I have forced a state on this eye, you can see that the background color is #F. So the color that he has used is the absolute white for this one. So we can continue with the absolute white, or we can actually continue with something that is close to white, not absolute white, which is the var white of ours. It's just up to us which one do you like. I'm going to continue with var white that we have. So the first thing that I'm going to do for the hover effect of this one, I'm going to set the background color of var white, okay? And the color should be changed to var primary, the primary thing that we have. So come here. So for now, let's hit refresh on this one. Let's see what happens. So this is what happens for now. But it seems that the 20 pixel padding that we applied is just too much. We need to come back and make it in a 10 pixel maybe. I don't know. But another thing that is that they have a border radius, as you can see. Not only a thing, they have a border radius. Again, let's force the state on this one on hover. As you can see, we might find a border radius for this one. Let's see if it's on the a tag or it's on the. I want to find that border radius to see how much the value is. See, maybe it's on the li. Maybe it's, I want to find that. I don't find that on li, so let's check a. Let's see if it has a border radius. I do not see any border radius here. So again, come here. Let's check the I tag. Yes, border radius. Why didn't I see that sooner? Yes, border radius 3 pixel. It's on the I tag. So we are going to continue with the border radius of 3 pixel, just like this person border radius of 3 pixels. But it seems the padding that we applied was just too much. So come here to use that 10 pixel, hit refresh, and this is it. So, and again, this is it. This is the way that it is. And also for this one, I am going to use display flex and a justify content evenly and things like that, because I believe, so now we have a div of class of socials, right? There are a bunch of a tags inside it. It's completely fine now, we can leave it at this, but I'm going to apply for this social thing that we have, I'm going to apply a display of flex, okay? And now that we apply a display of flex, we can control the horizontal alignment with justify content. So, for example, we can set the justify content to space evenly or space around. I think things like that would look much better. For example, if we set that on space evenly, I think is much better than the default value, which is a start. Or even maybe justify content. So this is something that I need to do. So here I am going to apply a justify content space evenly, and don't forget that we need to also apply a display of flex to this one. Display of flex. Now we can control that with justify content, and someone could argue that maybe this is not nice. Justify content start looks better, maybe, but I think it's better. I think I like it this way even more than anything else. So it's just, again, it's up to you. If you don't like justify content space evenly, you can go ahead and actually change that. There's something else that we need to add, and that's the transition, because you can see when the hover effect happens immediately, it's not very cool. The cooler way is actually to use a transition, okay? Transition, for example, 0.4 seconds. So that hover effect will be applied smoothly and happen in 0.4 second. And I think this 0.4 second is much better compared to what we had before. So this is our header area. Our header area, I think it's ready to be used, and we have finished our header area. this is the way that I have designed it. I think everything's good to go. Everything's great. The nav bar, the header is fixed. So now it's about we are going to create the next section of our page. So for that, I don't know if I already introduced a tag called section. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe I have already talked about it or not. But there's another div called section. See, when I told you about the nav tag or about header tag, I told you that these tags, they behave just like a div element, and they are used for divisions and creative. So header tag, div tag, they all behave just like each other, but these tags have some meanings. For example, nav tags, I told you it has a meaning. And when someone sees a nav tag, he immediately understands that it's used for the nav tag. It's for the header section. So it increases the code readability. We can actually use a div tag rather than header tag. I think it's completely fine and nothing will change and everything is great. But in order to increase the code readability, we use header tag, footer tag, and things like that. So and again, in order to increase the code readability, rather than using div tag, I'm going to use section tag. For what? For these sections that we have. For example, let's come here. Everything that is in this about section, this image and this person, I'm going to wrap all of them inside a section tag. Okay, this part of what I do, I'm going to have all of them inside a section. And these two also inside a section. And for example, I will create two div tags inside this section, and I call it one of them technical skill, the other one professional skills. So you get the point. And again, for this part, these 6 cards here, I'm going to use a section tag. So we create section tags for each sections in our website. And a section tag, again, behaves just like div tag, completely like a div tag. But when we use section tag, it increases our code readability. And also, I am going to assign an ID to each one of these tags that I create. And the reason that I want to apply some ID to this is I'm going to tell you. For example, let's imagine I want to apply an ID, and the ID should something meaningful. For example, the ID is about me, the ID that I applied to this section. So I'm going to have some content here very soon, and this would be our, let's bring the browser here, this is the about section, and I want to have a little area so that I can scroll, because in this example here, the content inside this page is too much and we can actually really easily scroll. But here I have not so much content for now, and we cannot control. So temporary, it's just temporary. Let's have a div. Okay, it's just temporary, and with a bunch of p tag and something inside it. I'm going to hold down Control-Shift-D so that I create so many different p tags here. So here I have created so many different p tags in order to just make the page look bigger, and we have something to scroll actually. So, and imagine, and I am going to put this, because I'm going to teach you something, and you just wait and you will see. Don't worry. I am going to set this is our div tag, right? At the end of this div tag, I'm going to have my section about me, for example, here. Hit refresh. And so this is it. This is our some content here. This is the div that we have over there. And also, again, because I want to have a long text at the top of this section and also a long text at the bottom of this section. So I want to show you something. Don't worry, don't hurry. Okay, so now everything is good to go. So this is our div, and it's between these two. The thing that I'm going to tell you is that when we give someone a URL and he clicks on this URL and will be redirected to some page, for example, this redirected, when the page is loaded, always the page will be loaded at the starting position of the page, okay? Unless we tell it otherwise. For example, here inside our code, we applied an ID to this div, and the ID was about me. And if we set a £sign and the ID of that thing, if we hit enter, we will be redirected not to the top of the document, but to the where the element is actually. So that's why I created so many content at the bottom and the top. And also, again, there's something that you need to have if we did not have any content at the bottom of this page. Okay, let's come back here, hit refresh. What happens is, so now hit refresh, this is when the page is loaded. You can see we have some problems here because the about me section is just there and there's nothing at the bottom of it. So that's why I created a lot of content at the top and the bottom of the section so that we can understand it better. So if we can actually do this, if we can say # about me and it redirects us to the place that piece of text is. So let's come back here. So hit, I want to remove this one. We can actually create an A tag ourselves and redirect the user ourselves. For example, I want to say if the user clicked on this link, rather than redirecting a user to some other page, we are going to send the user to that area only. So, okay, so here, let's say this is about me. So inside our nav area, rather than using a # alone, a # alone actually redirect user to the top of the document. Okay. Rather than this, I want to use about me. So I say # about me. So what happens is, if we come back here, hit refresh, when I click on this about, you can see now I am redirected to this section, to this some contents here. See? So this is something good that we can use actually. And also we can, now that we need to, again, give a position of fixed to the header, because you can see here when the user is scrolling, this header area is just on top and it stays on top. That's why it's because just the position is fixed. Something that we need to do as well, because now that we hit the about section and we will be redirected, the nav bar is gone and it's wrong. It shouldn't happen. This is something that we need to fix as well. And also there's something else that I want to say. See, when I click on this, the change again happens immediately. If this process happen with a little of animation, that would be great. So for that, there's something called scroll behavior. I think it was a scroll behavior. For example, we can select inside our general selectors, we can select the HTML tag. Okay, HTML tag. And usually this applies to HTML. For the whole HTML, for my whole document, I want the scroll behavior. Yes, it was a scroll behavior. We can set that on smooth. When we set the scroll behavior on smooth, what happens? The scroll behavior looks smooth. And sure enough, if you come back here, hit refresh, you can see now, let's see on the about section, see the scroll behavior is smooth and it looks very nicer compared to what we had before. So this is actually it. This is the way that we are going to select our skill section and things like that. And the reason that the speed is different here and there, see here when I click on about, you can see the speed is very different. The reason is because we have a longer text and a longer area. So the reason is that the timing. If we want to control the timing, I think you should use JavaScript and things like that, some plugins. It becomes a little tricky. So I'm not going to spend time on customizing the time of the scroll. So this is just it. This is something that we are going to continue with. So let me tell you something before I finish this video. So there's just a little fact note remaining. I'm gonna tell you this note. It can help you someday. And I finish this video. So the thing that I'm going to tell you is, now we have a about me section in our URL, right? And we clicked on this and it's redirected to this one. So this section tag here that we have is now called target. This is from HTML and CSS perspective, this section is now a target, called target. And we can actually select it and apply some CSS property to some element when it's a target. See, it has an about me we have a about me in our URL, a # about me, and this section has an ID of about me. So this is a target. We can actually go ahead and select this section about me and say when it's a target. So this target is actually a pseudo class. You can see it's something like hover, focus, things like that are called pseudo classes in CSS. We can actually select it when, for example, apply a background color. For example, let's use this bisque one. And since the background color is something light, let's use a color of something dark, for example, black. Okay, so we can come back here, hit refresh, and when we refresh the page, what happens is that you can see now this some content is a target. When it's a target, you can see the CSS properties to this that we applied to this is now different. Now, if you, for example, click on the home section, now the about me is removed from there, and now this is no longer a target. This is no longer a target, so that's why this CSS property is not applied to that. But now, if we click on this, now again, it's in the URL, it's now a target, the CSS property is applied. It's good for somewhere, for example, imagine that we design a page, and we are going to say someone replied to your comments. So you have seen sometimes. And a notification will be sent to you and says, for example, John replied to your comment. When you click on that notification, you will be redirected to somewhere, but when you are redirected to somewhere, you won't see the page from the top at the beginning of the page. You will see the page from the right where your comment is, and it may highlight even the replied comment. So this target is good for that circumstances. We can say make the someone that replied to your comment, we can make that reply a target, and for that we can highlight that. So this is something that can be used for that. And also I told you, do not use ID selectors. It's recommended to use class selectors rather than ID selectors. So that's what I'm going to do. So if we wanted to do something like that, we can just say when this dot about me is this dot about me is a target. So it's just like that. The code is just like what we had before, and we can, if we hit refresh, we will have the same result. But the only difference is that now I just used a class selector inside my CSS. Well, we can actually use ID, and we will use ID, and ID is an important part of HTML for sure. But it's just that I recommend inside your CSS, do not use ID selectors inside your CSS. Try to use class selectors. So that's just something that I wanted to improve my code. See, the ID is used for other purposes. For example, this scroll behavior, and click on that, maybe in JavaScript. But in my CSS, I just used a class selector. I just applied a class to this about me, and this is it. And when this about me is a target, go ahead and apply that colors, and sure enough, this is what happens. So this is it. That's enough for this session. Hope to see you in the next one.